because we have joining us the national president. I think we have to sit up straight, boys, and be on our best behaviour, because we have the national president of the RSA coming on, BJ Clark. BJ, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Actually, it's me sitting up straight to talk to you guys.
Lovely to have you with us. Thank you so much. Obviously, yesterday being Anzac Day, we thought it would be great to catch up with the RSA and have a bit of a chat about, Anzac Day in general and what it's all about. Maybe you could do that for us, because obviously Anzac Day, from when it started, has sort of evolved a bit into what it is today. So if I was an alien landing on the planet and had never heard of Anzac Day before, how would you describe it to me, BJ?
Well, I suppose we go back to its origins. Obviously, it's from Gallipoli, the landing at Gallipoli when Anzac, the Australian New Zealand Army Corps, when they both together served on the battlefields in Gallipoli. And so Anzac Day was started as a remembrance of the bravery of the service of those veterans. And unfortunately, they said that the World War I was the war to end all wars, and we all know that it hasn't been and won't be for some time by the look of things. However, it's also become an important part of just acknowledging all those that have served New Zealand in the armed forces who have lost their lives, and even those that came back who have been affected either physically or mentally. So, and also I think what we try to encourage is that we should also remember that we have people every day today serving overseas. And so on Anzac Day, we should also acknowledge them. So it's an acknowledgement of the service of all of those in our three armed services.
And how was the actual celebrations yesterday? Where are you based and what did you get up to?
I'm actually based in Christchurch, but I was at Wellington for the services at Pukeahu. The dawn service, well done Wellington. A massive number of people attending there. It was the sea of faces as you looked out into the public arena it was great. The 11 o'clock service, a bit smaller, but again, well supported. And then I also attend a service on the Wellington Heads at the Ataturk Memorial with the Turkish people, and that's also an amazing service. A country who we tried to invade, who actually, and frankly, kicked our butts, whose leadership acknowledged our service people as their brothers, and that they'll always remember them. And so the link between the Turkish people and the New Zealand people is still as strong as it ever was.
BJ, I was thinking back to past Anzac days, possibly when, I guess with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, war is fresh in our minds. But I'm thinking back to past Anzac days when maybe New Zealand was more involved in Afghanistan or Iraq, for example. And often we saw this debate in public discourse around what Anzac Day means, right? Is it a day, and you can tell us your opinion on this, is it a day for that sort of solemn reflection and a reminder of not forgetting? Or should it be sort of a day where we can have those conversations possibly about New Zealand's role in the world contemporarily?
I think it's both. I think you should be able to have those conversations that you talk about at any time. And that's exactly why our service personnel went overseas, was to enable people to have conversations. And I'll expand on that a little bit shortly. But it certainly is a time of reflection. It's a time where family members remember their forebears who served. For me, I go to an Anzac parade and I see the grandchild or great-grandchild of a veteran who's on that parade carrying granddad's or great-granddad's medals, and I think that's amazing. So what we do need, I think, is to ensure that we keep discussing with our young people what it's all about. Anzac Day, let's be very clear, is not about glorifying war. It should never be. It's about remembrance. There's you won't find anyone at an Anzac service that wants to glorify war. But the interesting thing, you talk about debate. I think debate can be around those subjects that are akin to Anzac Day. But I have to say that I was, I'll use a polite term, angered, to find there were certain elements of the public who wanted to use their platform to gain some publicity on Anzac Day. And that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen on any event. Those veterans went so that you could have your opinion, you could put it out there, but you don't do it on a day of reflection, which is all about the veteran.
To clarify, BJ, you're talking about the so-called sheriffs that are up in Paraparaumu.
Them, and there are others around the country. There was a slight disruption at Pukeahu at the 11 o'clock service. There was threats in a couple of other places. But, you know, let them have their day on their own platform. But, you know, so, you know, you'd say, so why are you choosing Anzac Day? And the reality is it's because they know there'll be a lot of media around, and they're hoping that will enhance their platform. And I'm so pleased that the media really didn't give it a lot of attention.
I am a very firm believer in that Anzac Day is an anti-war thing, certainly for myself. I've had relatives fight in France both times. And in 2015, I traveled right throughout Europe, and Gallipoli and Italy and Crete, to all of these places that New Zealanders had fought in those theatres. I find it really interesting that there are people that consider it a commemoration, almost like a national mourning or a start of the New Zealand becoming its own its own entity, its own country, rather than an extension of the empire. But I worry sometimes as we get further and further away that it becomes more of a just straight patriotic, as you said, a glorification. I see that a bit in Australia, and I hope that doesn't come in over here. Be interested in your thoughts on that.
Look, you know, I acknowledge and respect your position, and I think again, I have got no problems with that. If we want to get everyone thinking the same way, then we become a robot country, and so everyone again should have the opportunity to express their issues. However, what I don't want to see is, as happened in Paraparaumu, where we are holding a service to acknowledge in whichever way that those attendees wish to, the service of those around the country, and it is interrupted by people with another agenda. You know, that's all that worries me. You know, everyone is entitled to their opinion. Through New Zealand's involvement in Vietnam, there was this country was torn apart by people on their opinions of whether we should have been there or not. And let's not forget, it's not the service personnel that are there that have the choice. They're sent there, and so you know that's when they sign up. They sign up to go wherever they're told, so they do it. But the treatment of our veterans, particularly when they come back from Vietnam, was nothing less than an embarrassment to this country. And a number of those veterans who then retreated into areas of New Zealand where you don't see a lot of the light of day, whether it be up the east coast of the North Island or the west coast of the South Island, and they were severely affected. I mean, they were brought in at night undercover. Some of them were embarrassed. Well, not embarrassed. Some of them didn't wear their medals because of the reaction it got from people. They were called all sorts of names, and that's not acceptable. Those people were just doing the job they were sent away to do. But then on the other side of that, what we as a country have a responsibility to do is look after those veterans as they come back. Many of them were affected not only physically but mentally, and that mental stress, brought in things like alcoholism and mistreatment of their family. and there's no denying that. So the whole picture of Anzac Day is more than remembrance, but that is what we should be doing. We should acknowledge our veterans for the service they do, and now we are concentrating very much on the younger veterans, as you said, Afghanistan, Timor, the Solomons. We've just sent some people over and to support of what's happening in the Ukraine. Now, whilst that might be a bit of a benign operation, we sent 9 intelligence personnel across there. And so you've got to remember that they may well be dealing with images and making decisions that are going to be very difficult for them. And whilst that's not declared as an operational deployment, we don't know what effect that will have on them mentally down the track on the decisions that they make or what they see. So it's a really big picture. And that's the whole thing about Anzac Day. It isn't just one thing. It's an opportunity for individuals who have lost family members or had family members to remember them. And it's an opportunity for those that serve to get together again to talk about, what they got up to when they're away. And that very rarely is about, the glorifying war. It'll be things like, hey, remember when you got that Land Rover, went into town and flogged that bottle of wine and a couple of chickens to make the evening meal a little bit better, or when we went and had a great time and wherever and chatted up a couple of ladies or whatever. It's and remember our mates that are gone, whether it was in service or that have gone since that service. So it's a time for catch up. Some of those guys don't see each other for from one Anzac Day to the other, and it's an opportunity for them to say, mate, are you okay? And you're not looking too good. I think you should contact your local RSA and see if they can help you. Those are the things about Anzac Day. It's quite a wide thing.
BJ, thanks for joining us. I just want to finish with one quick question. It probably feels natural to wrap the conversation now, but I did want to ask you one thing. And here in Dunedin, we've got a statue of this man in our centre city, Archibald Baxter. And I was just interested as I was hearing you talk, and especially about it not being a place to glorify war. How does the RSA think of, and what do the members kind of think of the pacifism message and those conscientious objectors who refused to fight? I'm not even asking necessarily for an official position, but how are the people who maybe are in our history who have been the conscientious objectors, how are they kind of thought of and treated by the RSA?
To be honest, I've never raised that discussion or had that discussion, and maybe that's something that to enhance my my knowledge I should have. And I think probably if I look at some of the historical reading that I've seen, I think at the time I think they were treated harshly. Because it was expected that you went down the road and signed up, and I think anyone who didn't, was probably treated quite harshly. And I think now it's been a long time since people have had to make a decision or express that they are a conscientious objector, because we haven't had mass recruitment to go to a war. So an interesting one you raise, I remember there's a movie, and I can't remember what it was, about a gentleman who joined the American forces, and he didn't want to carry a rifle. That's it.
Hacksaw
yeah, and he was treated poorly because he didn't want to carry a rifle and be a soldier on the front line. And yet that man, through being a medic, his heroism is just it's unparalleled. It was amazing.
Yeah. And that little man grew up to be Spider-Man. No, it's just the actor who played him. So, hey, BJ, thanks for joining us. Really do appreciate you giving us some time this morning. I'm sure you're very sought after in these sort of couple of days in particular. So I really appreciate you give our little conversation some time. National President of RSA, BJ Clark. BJ, thanks for joining us. Really do very much appreciate your time.
Kia ora, guys, and have a great day. Thank you.